Okay, Chris Cullen back with you on CC's Aquatic Adventures. And it's been about a month since I made a video. It might be a little bit longer than that, but I've been sick. I have heart failure, and I'm actually on the transplant list. I'm waiting to get a heart transplant. I haven't been working since December. When I got COVID, it made my heart failure worse. So I've been battling with that and dealing with that here the last couple of weeks. But I'm back and I'm here to make a video, and of course I'm filming the guppy tank. As you can see, the Baylor sharks got a little bit bigger. The guppies are still there, they're still thriving. It's actually time to eat, so we have to feed them, but they did have a bunch of babies, and yes, we have a bunch of babies to take care of. Now, I've said this before, when you want to save some money on fish, get some guppies or mollies. They will give you babies, and you don't have to spend as much money on fish. Now let me show you what I have set up for the guppies. We're gonna walk through the house here, and I'm gonna show you what I did. First things first is, whenever you have guppies in a tank, you want to set up a tank that you could put the babies in. Now, as you can see, I have different lights in this tank. If you look inside there, you can see the babies in the guppy grass, and then in the moss. I think I probably have about 20 babies in there. If you look closely, I had the blue light on this afternoon, so I kind of changed it, but you can see in the guppy grass and in the moss, they're running around in there. That's one tank. Got about 20 in there, and if you come over to this tank, I have another 5-gallon setup, which is pretty much the same thing. Got some moss in there, some guppy grass, and you can see that they're thriving. These guys are a little bit bigger. When you have guppies, obviously you have different times when they're having babies. This is the first batch that I pulled out, and if you look close enough, they're in there. They're hiding out. Now the reason why I take them out is because the Baylor sharks will eat them. The guppies will eat them. I plan on moving the Baylor sharks once I get a 150-gallon tank, which I'm waiting to get. I'll be moving some fish around here soon, but obviously with my health, I have to see when I could do that. But yeah, so in the hobby, the best fish you can get if you enjoy fish, in my opinion, are guppies, or mollies, or even, there's swordtails, mollies, platies, guppies. They all are, and there's a bunch of different ones that are live bearers. But if you have a live bearer, it's always good to have another tank set up and grow these babies out. And of course, once they get bigger, I like to put them in a tank, and you're pretty much gonna have a mutt guppy tank. But in my personal opinion, I'm not breeding fish, so I don't really care what they look like. I'm not selling them. If anything, I'll give them away. But yeah, I mean, these fish are fun to have, and I will grow them out and put them back in the guppy tank. I always have a guppy tank. I love the way they swim. They're very cool fish, and very, they're very lively. As you can see, these guys in here are getting pretty big, so as compared to the other ones. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for today. And as I said before, if you're trying to save money and you don't want to spend a lot of money on fish, I think the best part of the hobby is having babies. If you have live bearers, or even if you have egg layers, it's fun to watch them develop and how they interact around each other when it's breeding time. It's a very fun thing to do when you have fish, and like I said, it keeps you home. It keeps you from spending more money. Now, of course, I always want to spend money on fish, but you could get more enjoyment out of this instead of going out and spending more money. But yeah, like I said, set up a 5-gallon tank. You can see I have a 5-gallon tank here. It's actually, I set up quickly because I wanted to have I knew we were gonna have babies, so I set this tank up. It's a 5-gallon. Put some gravel in it. I like to put a bunch of guppy grass in there and some moss, preferably a thicker moss where they can hide. A lot of times the babies get lost or they feel more comfortable inside the grass. And I also have a bunch of plants in the guppy tank, so when the babies do get born, they can hide. Now that said, the Baylor sharks, I keep them in there because they're a very peaceful fish, and they don't usually bother the guppies, but if they have babies, they will eat the babies. So I mean, and that's pretty much any fish. And so, I keep an eye on it, and if they do have babies, I'll scoop them out. But eventually, those Baylor sharks will get up to 1.5 feet long, and I'll have to move them to a bigger tank. And I work with rescue groups around here. A couple people have, bigger tanks, so I could rehome them. A lot of the fish I get are rescues, and I do rehome them. So, but because I don't have a lot of room in my fish room, right? I don't put a lot of big tanks in there. Even though I do want to get a 150-gallon, because I want to move some bigger fish around. I have some Oscars that I rescued that are getting bigger, and obviously you want to keep them in a bigger tank. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. The bottom line is, if you're in the fish hobby, and if you have let's say you have a 36-gallon bow front tank, or even a 20-gallon tank, 20-gallon long, and you have some guppies in there, when they have babies, I like to scoop them out. It makes it a little more fun. Usually, if you keep the babies and there's a lot of grass like this and a lot of moss like this, you could actually keep them in there with the guppies, and they'll hide, and you'll be able to scoop the babies out. But when you keep other fish in there like I do, you might want to get a net and scoop them out real quick. And when you do have a lot of fish like I do, a lot of tanks, you don't want to keep pulling babies out. If you can use them as feeder for other fish, then I say so be it. It's good nutrition for them, and it helps the fish get bigger, and it's good for the fish. And all my fish are healthy, so and they eat good. And I think that this, feeding them live fish isn't a bad thing. Anyway, like I said, if you're running live bearers, always have a 5-gallon tank set up, or a 5-gallon tank nearby, so you can grow these fish out. It doesn't cost you much to set up a smaller tank. The only thing you do want to watch out for when you do have babies, you want to keep an eye on the water quality. I don't like to keep a lot of fish in small tanks, even though I do have a 5 and 10-gallon. And a 3-gallon. I actually have a 1-gallon that I actually grow snails out, and once the snails get bigger, I use them, in my other tanks to get them to clean the algae. And we got Nereid snail babies and trumpet snail babies and mystery snail babies that we grow out and put them in tanks. So I do run different tanks, but when you have small tanks, just make sure you keep an eye on the water quality, and you keep an eye on on what kind of filtration you're using too. You don't want to use filters that can suck up the babies. Like I usually use a sponge filter, and set up with a lot of plants. Obviously, you want the gravel in there. I feed them baby brine shrimp, and there's also I'll show you the food. I'm actually on the ground because this tank is so low. I can see the fish room as I'm getting up here.